Hello everyone. This story, takes place after the Bilgewater events. If you have not read the Bilgewater events, then please pause this video and read it, because everything that happens from here on out is new for me, is new maybe for you. This video is for people who don't want to read this, basically. If they want to hear the voice of Alninio as we go through this here. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Blood on the streets, glory and death, down to the bared lady. Keep in mind this is my first time doing this, so I'm sorry if I sound obnoxious or anything like that. Let's move on. The butcher blades had hung the jackdaw from a rusted marlin spike through his jawbone and left him for the quayside scavengers. This was the 17th murder ganger and the hooded man had seen tonight. A slow night by Bilgewater's standards, at least since the Corsair's king had fallen. Red Fang wharf rats had already eaten most of the hanged man's feet and were perched on staked creels to tear at the soft meat of his calves. The hooded man kept on walking. "Help me." The words were wet, squeezed up through a throat clogged with blood. The hooded man spun, hands reaching towards the weapon slung on his wide belt. Incredibly, the jackdaw was still alive on the bone-handled spike. The hook stuck it deep into the wooden frame of a loading crane. No way to get the jackdaw down without tearing the skull to splinters. "Help me," he said again. The hooded man paused, considering the jackdaw's request. "What for?" he said at last. "Even if I get you down from there, you will be dead by morning." The jackdaw carefully lifted his hand to a concealed pocket in his patchwork jerkin and removed the golden kraken. Even in the dim light, the hooded man saw it was genuine. The scavengers hissed and raised their hackles as he approached. Wharf rats weren't large, but meat as warm as this wasn't a prize to be surrendered lightly. They bared long, needle-like fangs, spitting diseased gobbets of saliva. He kicked one rat out over the water, crushed a second underfoot. They snapped and bit, but nimble footwork kept any from tasting his flesh. His every movement smooth and precise. He killed another 3 before the rest scattered to the shadows, sullen eyes glaring red in the darkness. The hooded man stood beside the jackdaw. His features were hidden, but the light of a rogue's moon suggested a face that no longer smiled. "Death is here for you," he said. "Embrace it, safe in the knowledge I will ensure it is final." He reached into his coat and withdrew a glittering spike of silver, 2 handspans long and engraved with curling symbols spiraling along its length. It resembled an ornate leatherwork is all. He placed the tip under the dying man's chin. The man's eyes widened and his hand scrabbled at the hooded man's sleeve as he looked out over the vast expanse of the ocean. The sea was a black mirror shimmering with the glow of myriad candles, quayside braziers, and lamplight warped through salvaged glass from 1,000 cliffside hulks. "You know what lurks over the horizon," he said. "You know the horror it brings. And yet you tear each other like rabid beasts. It makes no sense to me." He turned and hammered the heel of his palm against the flattened haft of the awl, driving a spike up into the man's brain. The last corpse rattle and Jackdaw's pain ended. The gold coin fell from the dead man's fingers and rolled into the ocean with a soft splash. The man would draw the spike and wiped it clean on the Jackdaw's ragged shirt, He returned it to the sheath inside his coat and removed a golden needle and a length of silver thread dipped in the water, drawn from an Ionian spring. Working with skill of one who had performed the service many times before, he sewed the man's eyes and lips shut. As he worked, he spoke words taught to him a lifetime ago, words first ill-spoken by a long-dead king. "Now the dead cannot claim you," he said, as he finished his work and replaced his implements. "Maybe not, but we ain't leaving empty-handed. Sure we ain't," said a voice behind the hooded man. He turned and pulled back his hood to reveal skin, the color and texture of aged mahogany, cheekbones that were angular and patrician. His dark hair was bound in long scalp-lock, and eyes that had seen horror beyond measure surveyed the newcomers. 6 men, dressed in aprons of blood-stiffened leather, cut to display limbs of corded muscle wrapped with tattooed thorns. Each carried a serrated hook and wore belts hung with a variety of meat workers' knives. Petty thug made bold by the fall of the tyrant who'd ruled Bilgewater with an iron fist. With him gone, the city was in chaos as rivals gangs sought to carve out fresh territories. Their approach hadn't been stealthy. Hobnailed boots, awful stench and muttered curses had announced their presence long before they revealed themselves. "I don't mind a coin going to the bearded lady. Sure I don't," said the biggest of the butchers, a man with a gut so prodigious it was a wonder he could get close enough to a carcass to gut it all. "But one of ours killed old Knock John there, fair and square, sure they did. So that gold serpent there was ours." "Do you want to die here?" asked the man. The fat man laughed. "You know who you're talking to." "No. Do you?" "Go on then. Tell me so I can carve it on the rock. I'll use it to sink your bones." "My name is Lucian," he said, whipping back his long frock coat and drawing a pair of pistols wrought of knapped stone and burnished metals unknown to even the most reckless alchemist of Zon. A bolt of coruscating light punched the fat butcher from his feet with a scorched hole where his grotesquely swollen heart had been. Lucian's second pistol was smaller, more finely crafted, and fired a ceiling line of yellow fire that cut another of the butcher in half from the collarbone to groin. "Oh man, that sucks." Like the war of rats before, they fled, but Lucian picked them off one by one. Each burst of light was a killing shot. In the blink of an eye, all 6 butchers lay dead. He sheathed his pistols and pulled the coat back around him. Others would be drawn by the sound and fury of his work, and he had no time to save these men's souls from what was coming. Lucian sighed. It had been a mistake to stop for the jackdaw, but perhaps the man he had once been was not entirely lost. A memory threatened to surface, and he shook his head. "I cannot be him again," said Lucian. "He isn't strong enough to kill the Chain Warden." And that Chain Warden, my friends, is Thresh. Wow, that was awesome. If you guys enjoyed this chapter 1, please leave a like and subscribe and put a favorite on this video. I'll be making chapter 2 as well, and reading through the whole thing with everyone. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.